Hello there, my lovely abundant healers. So welcome. If you don't know me, my name is Brianna McWilliam, and I am an author, educator, and Reiki practitioner, as well as a licensed creative arts therapist with over 12 years in the field. I also happen to be an online entrepreneur and have created a training program for therapists, coaches, and healers to help scale their practices online in 90 days. Specifically, I teach them how to create a 6-week signature course and launch it through either an automated sales funnel or online group coaching programs. So today, I really wanted to talk about 3 steps to making meaningful money. And what I wanted to say about that is that oftentimes when I watch other online entrepreneurs talk about money, and I will be honest with you, a lot of the majorly successful online entrepreneurs out there follow the law of attraction in terms of how to build what's called spiritual wealth. You'll see that term a lot, like spiritual wealth coaches. Well, one thing tends to come up a lot, and it is that money has to have somewhere to go. Your money has to have somewhere to go. It has to have some kind of meaning attached to it, okay? And so if you're not able to identify the deeper meaning of the abundances that you're trying to call in, you will always be attracting situations in which you have to work hard for the money and or that perpetuate this sense of scarcity or lack. And so I like to think of it as making meaningful money, okay? And I just want to note that it has to be meaningful to you, not necessarily to someone else, right? Because we can get caught up in that trap where we're making money because, we think that we're doing good for the world, but we really hate it. I've seen this a lot, with like let's say you're in social work and you're doing it because you're trying to help someone. Meanwhile, you go home and you're just frustrated with the entitlement of your clients and you're burnt out and you actually hate your job. Are you really saving the world in that respect? Is the money that you're making in that situation actually benefiting anyone? Okay, so you want to kind of divorce this notion. We talked about in our last live stream, this notion of deservedness, like doing things because you want to be deserving. You want to try to oust that kind of thinking. And so I tend to suggest that there are 3 steps to making meaningful money, and they are founded in the law of attraction. And I also recommend that you concretize these steps in some way because through an activation of creativity and in your body, you conjure up the feelings and the emotions that have the most powerful attracting quality to them. Okay, so let's dive into our steps. So the first step 1, is to identify the what. Okay, so the first step, you want to think about what will satisfy your needs. And so typically it's a concrete item. It could be a certain amount of money. It could be a new job. It could be a better boss. It could be a house on the lake. It could be a longer vacation. It could be a timeshare in Florida. But what I want you to think about is, what do you want in terms of the material? What external things do you want? And I'd recommend that you write them down. Just jot down a few things that pop into your mind right now. And I'd like you to be really specific. We all have an idea of the things that we want, even if it's just like that dress in the window at Macy's, right? Why? That's our next question. Step 2 is to identify your why. So you want to think about why you may want that thing, okay? And inevitably it is because you think that thing is going to conjure some kind of emotion within you, right? So maybe you think that a certain amount of money will give you a sense of relief, right? When you pay off all your debt. Or maybe you feel like that new house on the lake will allow you to finally relax, right? Or maybe you think if you make more money, you can travel more often, and that's going to allow you to feel more free, right? Okay, so whatever the what is, right? Whatever the material objects is, you want to connect it to the why, right? You want to connect the desire with the underlying goal, which is not the having of the thing per se, but the feeling that the having of the thing stimulates within you. Okay, so this third step is just that. You want to focus on the why instead of the what. So if you can find a way to focus on how you want to feel rather than what you think you need in order to feel that way, you can actually create a shortcut between you and your desired outcome. So it can really help you hold a higher vibration as you specify your desires. They tend to come to you at a faster rate. But how do we do that, right? How can you conjure the feeling of something when it appears dependent on this external thing? How can I feel happy about having more money if I can't taste, touch, see, feel it, take it out of the bank? Well, I believe that we can accomplish that through body activation and through visualizations. And this is a lot of what we do in the first module of my program. We go through mindset, and we also go through the power of your emotions to manifest the outcomes that you want. Okay. So basically, your goals, ultimately, even monetary ones, basically your goal is to impact your emotional state in some way, right? So the only reason that you can tell me that you know what happy means to you is because you have a memory of feeling happy. The only reason that you can tell me what sad is because you have a memory of feeling sad. So you do know what the feeling is, even if you're not feeling it in the moment, right? So you can't tell me that there's no way for you to conjure a feeling if there's no material external stimulus for it. Can't tell me that, okay? Because the only reason that you might tell me that it's impossible to feel happy when you don't have a certain specific thing that you want is because presently you understand most keenly what it is to fear the not having of that thing. Okay. And so by that rationale, fear is probably the most present and prevalent feeling that you experience at any given time on a daily basis. Okay. And that is always going to work against you. So rather than allow yourself to remain preoccupied with fear or a scarcity attitude, I invite you to become a conscious creator of happy and satisfied feelings. And I would encourage you to use your brightest memories and images as anchors. And that's really going to help you with this. So the best way to make anchoring images, memories, thoughts, feelings come alive is by activating your body. Okay. Now that might mean you create a vision board. It might mean that you make scribble drawings and you look for pictures in them like you would in the clouds. It might mean dancing around the room to your favorite song. It might mean going through old albums and remembering all the fun you had when you were a kid. It might mean watching a bunch of comedies or romantic films. But what you want to do is you want to hold those experiences and those memories gently and lightly in your mind, almost as if you're holding an eggshell, right? Gently enough that you can support them and recognize them, but not so tightly, not so focused on the specifics that you end up crushing the essence of the thing, right? Because if you focus too much on the specifics of what your memories might be, then you start stimulating the pain points that could be lingering around them, and that's actually going to backfire on you, okay? So you might think of it as looking at something you want, allowing that feeling of desire to sink in, and then blur your vision. Just blur your vision just enough so that it becomes more like a fuzzy outline, but the feeling is still there, right? The feeling of desire and the pleasure of the thought of having it, right? And then you want to just allow that feeling to become generalized within you. You could imagine it expanding almost like a ball of energy, right? With every breath, just getting bigger, right? Bigger and bigger. You're just holding that feeling. Just like inhabiting that feeling, like you're standing in the middle of this giant sphere of energy that extends 3, 10, 15, 20 feet around you. This just like this amazing feeling of having exactly what it is that you want, okay? Now, once you can manage to accomplish this, once you can manage to accomplish that feeling truly and honestly and stand in the middle of that sphere without experiencing contrast, without that little voice in the back of your head being like, oh, but I don't have it, right? Then you can step into the visualization process, which is adding in the details of the things that you want, right? The form of the energy that you want to call in. But I don't recommend that you try to make vision boards and then focus on that without being able to sit comfortably in that feeling of having. Because if you jump the gun, you're actually going to emphasize the contrast within you. You're actually going to scratch that, like that irritation. You're going to make it worse because you're focusing on what you want, but what you're actually feeling is can't have, can't have, can't have. Okay, so what we're talking about here is stacking anchoring images and feelings, allowing them to blur a little bit and just holding on to the essence of that thing, like that eggshell. Okay. Now, once you're able to accomplish that, like once you're able to hold that sphere of feeling, divorce all of the details and just hold it like as if it is an energetic state of being. And then you can bring in the details of the things you want to call in, right? Like once you can do that and do it without feeling a sense of contrast, without feeling a sense of loss, without feeling a sense like becoming tearful because the feeling is so good that it conjures up the thought of not having, right? If you can sit in that place of having without the pain points being stimulated, okay, then that's when you're really in receiving mode. Okay. And at that point, like I'd recommend that you can even set a timer for this. You just sit for like 10, 15 minutes a day, standing in that sphere, no goals, no aim, no focus on what you don't have, just sitting in the feeling, just sitting in the feeling. And if you can do that, then you can conjure the details of the things that you want, right? Let's say my goal is to have, a launch to make a certain amount of money. I hold maybe that number in my mind. I'll see myself sitting at dinner toasting to my good friends who come out, for celebration with me. Maybe I imagine the conversation we'll have. And I just sit there with that thought in my mind, and then I just release it to the universe and let it take care of the house. And then I might just allow myself to be in receiving mode for about 10 minutes and just see what pops into my head. It may be something, it may be nothing, it may be an impulse to draw, maybe an impulse to sing, to exercise afterwards. But I just allow myself to be in stillness for about 10 minutes in receiving mode. And just allow the universe to flow, to respond to my desire. Allow the law of attraction to draw to me what it will. Because whatever it is will be a next step, a next leaping stone for whatever my next, direction needs to be to get to where I need to go, or rather to attract what I've already created to me. Okay. And so over time, as you start to do this and you start to inhabit your feelings in your body more like this, your mindset will start to shift and you'll become much more receptive to your own intuition as well, and your inner guidance. And once those messages come through, you'll find that your actions do become increasingly inspired as opposed to automatically motivated by fear, right? And that is when the meaningful money starts to show up in your life, right? And that is so long as you're not implementing one of those 3 ways in which you repel money without even realizing it. And if you'd like to learn more about that, I invite you to check out the last video I did on that topic. But if you are interested in learning more about this and how I use the law of attraction in my practice and started bringing in up to $10,000 a month in online revenue through my passive income funnels and online group coaching programs, I do invite you to check out the free download I have in the caption of this video. It includes a 9-step framework for building an abundant practice. And they are the exact steps that I used to scale my practice online. So check it out, and I hope you stay tuned to the live stream feed. We are going to be opening enrollment for the Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online starting April 1st. And keep your eyes glued to the feed because we're going to be doing a webinar, a live event and webinar to open enrollment. And basically just to give you guys a sense of what would it take to scale your practice online, and do you have what it takes, right? So stay tuned.